All right, it looks like I am Carol Murphy, representing Aloha, and we are happy to have you join us for this month's webinar. And we certainly hope that you get a lot out of it. Today, we are so pleased to have Rich Bimler as our presenter. He just has such a rich history and experience in really being a advocate for joyful aging, which is what we're talking about today. So you may know him from the devotional guide that he does for seniors, or you may know him through uh, we raise. You may also know him from Rich and Charlie Resources. So we are very pleased to have him join us today. So I will not take any more time and turn it over to you, Rich.
Thank you, Carol, very much. And good to be with you. Thanks for joining us. And Carol may have mentioned it too, that this will be about a 5-hour event. Is that right? And then we'll take a little break and we'll leaving, I can tell. But I'm so pleased that we're able to talk and share our faith and with a fun, in a fun way. And Carol, again, thanks for all the work you do for Aloha. She's just great, and we appreciate that very much. So I don't know how you are feeling today, but I'm feeling blessed because I'm able to share and talk with you today. Here's what I'd like to do. And as Carol mentioned, some of my information will be online, so you can go and look it over and check it out and see what I was really trying to say. First of all, I'd like to say Happy Earth Day. Notice that? That's could be a church year holiday, Earth Day. Every day is Earth Day, of course, but it's a day that, again, we can remember that the Lord has put us on earth again today for us to get something done on his behalf. It's also, this is funny, I think, it's Humor Day today. Did you know that? So hopefully we can chuckle a little bit or at least groan a little bit as we think through our own ways that we live in the fun and the not so fun days that we have. And best of all, I did a little research on this. It's also Jelly Bean Day. So Carol's been nice enough to gather enough jelly beans. So after we're done, we'll all get together at her house, okay, and have jelly beans for lunch. So anyway, let's begin with a word of prayer, a thought, and then we'll get into a discussion that, as Carol said, I hope we can dialogue it with your questions and comments, because that's what really makes it exciting. I was reading Psalm 24, verse 1. The earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. I forget that again, that it's the Lord's earth. It's not my earth. And even it's Earth Day, but if the Lord puts me into this earth, in this place, to be a person that still has something to do. I'm happy to announce that today I am 80 and 2/3 old. And I like to celebrate every day because that's what the Lord is all about. And so, what we'd like to suggest is this: let's think about this as the gift of aging as a devotion. Psalm 71:18 says it well. So, even to old age and gray hairs, O God, don't forsake me until I proclaim your might to another generation, your power to all those to come. For us older adults, our role is clear. Tell the story of the Lord to those around us, to both the young and the old. What a gift, huh? What an opportunity. What an assignment. What a Lord. Who is waiting to hear the message of love and joy and forgiveness from you and from me today? That's a good way to start a day. Who is waiting to hear just a message of love and concern and understanding from you and from me today? And then our prayer is simply, yes, Lord, send me, send me. I like to think a lot about what we're talking about in terms of joyfully aging. it just it sounds so exciting, but it's kind of a joyfully aging. We have a granddaughter who's doing some work in Florida. She's in med school. She did a little study on a very just one-on-one study, and she was asking some of the patients that would come in, how do they feel about growing older? And there's some really great quotes. You've heard some of them too. Sarah said one time, one lady came in and said to her, "Never get old, never get old." Well, that really perked her up for that day, you know. And another one came in and said, "Well, at least I'm still above the ground." I don't know. That's probably okay, but there's probably a better way to look at it. And another one came in and said, "Well, enjoy life now. You know, it doesn't get any better." Here's what I'd like to share today, to me and to you too. Aging is not a disease. Aging is not something that we just have to deal with. We're getting older, we can't do any more, anything, and we kind of give up. That's why I still don't like the word retire. Nobody ever retires this side of the grave, because we all have gifts to learn. I just saw this little sign. I don't know if you can see it. It says, just because you slowed down doesn't mean you've stopped. And again, I don't think any of us, I know, I feel none of us have stopped, because the Lord continues to give us ministry. Now, I know that, and I know you know that, but somehow ourselves, our church, our family, sometimes perhaps we don't do enough intentional thinking about this oxymoron, if you will. Joyfully aging is an oxymoron. Do you know what an oxymoron is? Of course. If you don't, I had to go and ask some people too, but it's a figure of speech that combines two seemingly contradictory ideas. That's a good definition of it, huh? I think that's what aging is all about, joyfully aging. We're joyfully aging, even though everything doesn't work the way it used to, even though we can't run the marathon that we used to, even though we just get so tired out. It's different, but we are still joyfully aging. Years and years ago, I wrote this book, Joyfully Aging. It's really sold about 12 copies already. It's really going well. But some people said nobody will ever buy that because they don't want to joyfully age. Well, I don't think we have a choice, because as we age, we can do it joyfully because of the Lord is living in us. Contradictory terms, that's what they are to some people, but for the people of God, joyfully aging works well, because the Lord is always talking about people, young and old, and that's who we are. So, do you have some contradictory terms that you can think of? I was thinking about this last night. Here's a couple of them. Alone together. Um, Somebody said, oh, there was a crash landing. Those are oxymorons, as we would say. Huh? How about jumbo shrimp? Yeah, that's another one. How about found missing? Or about a devout atheist? What in the world is that? How about a small crowd? Or an original copy? They all, it doesn't make sense, but in a way it does make sense. And finally, how about joyfully aging? Because the Lord is with us. We have a problem, folks, in this country, in our churches. It's not my fault or your fault, but maybe we are part of it. And that is, I think we really need to change the way we think about aging. This is nothing new. People have been talking about that, but let's get more intentional, because we mean well, but I think sometimes what we do or say doesn't help. I caught myself the other day. I got to confess to you, knowing that I'm 80 and 2/3, and I get excited about every day that way. Um, I use my older adult card because I was upset with somebody who didn't purchase something that I really wanted. And so I kind of said, well, hey, fellow, be nice to me. After all, I'm over 80 years old. Now, then I thought, why am I doing that? To kind of show that, gee, I'm a little better than that person is because I'm older? Well, no, that's not right. And so I sometimes am my own worst enemy about how I deal with people around me. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Go look in Hallmark stores. They're selling a lot of cards, but most of them I don't like to buy. What I like to do, by the way, it's a lot cheaper, is go in the Hallmark cards with pen and pencil and just look and write down the words that are on the cards. I got to watch it so they don't catch me, but I do that. But most of them are seeing aging as negative, aren't they? um it's all poor, you're over the hill, and oh, sorry, you've got to do that, or oh, you can't do that anymore, but and here, don't blow up the house with all the candles. And now I get it, I like to laugh too, but healthy aging, I think, and this is what we want to talk about today, is changing the way we think about older people, regardless of how old we are. Some of you on might be under 80. I'm sure you are, or maybe over 80, and that's fine. There needs to be a concept change of how we look at older people. My idea of older people came from my grandma Schultz. She was German, by the way, and we lived with Grandma Schultz, one of the grouchiest people I ever met. She lived right across the kitchen, so we couldn't go around even if we wanted to. We loved her, but it was hard to love her. One day I remember I came in from, this is a true story. I came in from school. I was just a kid, and I said, "Hiya, Grandma, how you doing?" And her favorite phrase was, "Not so good." Anytime you'd ask, "How you doing, Grandma?" she said, "Not so good." Gee, that makes you feel good, doesn't it? Oh, good. Now I feel better about that. Well, this day, she wasn't good at all. And so I was getting something from the refrigerator, and she yelled, "Richie, she called me Richie at that time. And she said, "Richie, you're making too much noise." And then I said, "Sorry, Grams." And then I was talking to somebody on the phone or something, and she yells, "Quiet down in there. I'm trying to rest." Well, she was just a real grouch. And then I came in later and I was talking, and she would say this often. She said, "Why doesn't the Lord take me? I'm just ready. Why doesn't He just take me to heaven?" And that was the day that she had really gotten on my nerves. So when she said that, and I apologized to her afterwards, I looked at her when she said, "Why doesn't the Lord just take me to heaven?" I just simply blurted out, "Well, maybe He doesn't want you up there." You see, her concept, it seemed, of aging was she had nothing else to give, and she was just ready to go. And we love Grandma Schultz, but we have a long way to go to change how we feel about older people. That's the first part. Secondly, one of the greatest dignities of you, mankind, is that each successive generation is invested in the welfare of each new generation. You know who said that? Not even Lutheran, I don't think, but Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. He said, each old generation is invested in the welfare of new generations. Rather than me as the 80-plus-year-old being concerned only about me and how am I getting there and how do I do this? No, we are really to be invested in younger people around us, in helping them, of listening to them. And that's tough. I know it's tough, but sometimes we get into our own mode and we need somebody to really shake it out. I want to say a name here. Some of you may know him, Dick Engelbrecht, a good friend of ours out of North Carolina. Wonderful person, 90 some years old, not doing well physically, but mentally and spiritually, he's right on target. Instead of complaining about nobody talks to me, I don't know what to do, I have another ache, what he does is he makes phone calls every day or every other day to friends, to people, just to say hi. Wow. I mean, that's a small thing, isn't it? But for me, for Dick to call and just to talk, and we talk about whatever we want to talk about. The Mets have lost, the Cubs have won, and so forth. Sorry, I had to throw that in. But the idea is we as older adults need to help other older adults see that our concept of living is not just taking care of ourselves, but being invested in the welfare of other people. I like this. Somebody once said, this is out of a Pickles comic. He says, old in the way and here to stay, and more coming your way. The Pickles folks were saying, hey, old isn't going away. There's more and more of us all the time. There's 10,000 people turned 65 years old today. Did you know that? I didn't send any of them a birthday card, but they won't miss it anyway. And to that I say, the Lord must really love older people because He's making so many more of us. He's making so many more of us. What? To be helpful and to be supportive and to be joyful to the people around us, not faking it, but also to say, hey, I'm having trouble. Asking, that's another thing. We as older adults, maybe I'm only talking to myself, but we need to help people help us. Somebody once said, we older people need to learn to put their blinkers on, to help blink, blink, blink. I need some help. Help me, rather than say, I can do that. There's a story about the guy in Florida who would go out on the road in his car and he'd be driving and he'd go 15 miles an hour and people would zoom by him and beep, beep at him and make certain figures with their fingers and all that kind of stuff. And he came home, the old man came home and said to his son, I don't know, son, I don't know what I should do. I'm 85 now and I need to drive yet. But when I get out there, people are beeping and humming and yelling at me. What do I do? And the young man had a great idea. He said, well, Gramps, here's what you do. Be careful. Don't get in the middle lane, get on the side and just drive, be careful, but put your blinkers on. Just put your car blinkers on so that people can notice you. And the fellow said, okay, I'll try it. He did, and he came back so excited. He said, hey, guess what? It was a whole different experience. As I was going there slowly, 10 miles an hour or whatever, with my blinkers on, people would drive by and they'd roll down their window and they'd say, hey, do you need some help? Hey, can I help you out? And people really wanted to help because this gentleman was asking for help. Well, I think you and I, especially I, need to put my blinkers on sometime. Rather than say, I can do that, say, no, I need somebody to help. One of my best friends, who I had been in a wheelchair before he died, would never let people open the door. We'd go into a St. Arbuck's. There are good places to go into, by the way, not right now, but a little later on. And I'd open the door for him and say, no, no, I can do it. So he wanted to do it himself. Well, he's a great guy, but he needs to let somebody else, other people, help him. We call that the church. And again, with the churches, and I hope I'm not becoming too negative here, but the church still is, I think, dissecting ages, putting the little kids here and the little bigger kids here and the teenagers here and us older adults here. And that's okay. I get that for certain reason, but worship needs to be worship of all of God's people and also the young kids need to see us older people, and we need to touch and feel and celebrate and do things together with people of all ages rather than segmenting them. So I'd like to suggest to you, and if you're making notes here, and again, I'm ready for questions anytime, I like to use the phrase, be bold and claim old. I like to tell people, maybe too much, that I'm 80 and what did I say? And two-thirds old, because I'm happy about that. And rather than kind of say, oh, I can't do that because I'm just too old. Be bold, claim old, from dread to dream. That's the idea. Carol, do you have a question or anything you want
I
to?
have, Lois has raised her hand.
Good.
So I have allowed her to talk. And Lois, if you'll unmute yourself, go for it.
I just did. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
All right. First of all, I love this conversation. It's so important to me. But I'm 83, so I've got you beat, mister.
Okay.
I'm also, the last year and a half, I've had some terrible back problems and they're continuing. But I've learned that my prayers to God don't have to be heal me as much as help me deal with it. The next part, though, is what you've talked about, changing our mindset. And I talked to a friend of mine yesterday, happened to call her. God just pushed me into calling her that day, which is not, she wasn't on my schedule. But she's in a nursing home, lost her husband a year ago in there. And with COVID, you know that it's been kind of traumatic. But her attitude is, who can I help here every day? She goes through that nursing home and makes sure that, and she's blind, by the way. She goes through and talks to people every day, uplifting them. She's never had said a bad word that I have ever found. However, by the time I finished talking with her, I was just almost rolling in the aisle laughing at what she'd had to say and what had happened with her in this day. Yesterday was the anniversary of her husband's death, yet she was focused on her daughter came to see her. They walked around the block, which the first time out for a while, and she got fresh flowers from the daughter and son. All of those things meant a great deal to her, and she knew she was going to get a lot of calls from all of her grandchildren. She is a happy person, and that is what we've got to do, is change our mindset. When you talked about your grandmother, I know the feeling. And one of the parts of it is God's not ready for us yet until we've finished whatever he has in mind for us to finish on earth.
Wow.
Then he'll take us.
Wow. Thank you, Lois. I agree with you. Good example. My goodness. You should be up here talking too. We'll get you on a presentation here too, okay? Because what you said is true. Yeah. Celebrate the gifts that God has given to all people and help them develop that. Yeah. Yeah. Carol, any other?
Nope, that's it for right now.
Good.
Carry
Well,
on.
thank you. We will. We're just started. We go till about 5 o'clock. Is that right? And then we'll take a break and we'll eat some jelly beans or something. Okay.
Okay, but first I'll take that back because Carol has raised her hand. So
Okay.
I have permitted her to talk.
Great. Hi, Carol.
Hi, I'm really enjoying your program, but I'd like to know if your book is still available.
If my book is still available?
Yes.
Well, this is the last one. No, this is the last one. No, they, yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah. And it's kind of fun. Maybe I told you it sold like 12 copies. So there's a lot. We got about 6,000 of them in our garage. So you can have one. But no, CPH still has them available. And yeah, it's kind of a fun book. It really is. And I think, so the answer is yes. The cost is $100 a book, but for you, we'll make it less. Okay, just for you.
Okay,
Thanks, Carol. Any good bookstore should have it, and there's a
okay.
couple other ones out too, but there are, by the way, good books out, and for the readers out there, there's a lot of really good books coming out on aging more and more, and some very very helpful stuff. And if I can put in another plug too, our Hopeful Living devotions, if you're familiar with it, which Worship Anew puts out now. If you're looking for devotions like that, written for, by, and to older adults, they're great too.
I think it's very important that the
Thank
sense of
you.
humor, you know, sometimes older people have rather wicked senses of humor. And I think that that's such a key part of aging and still not forgetting that we all have a purpose.
Again, this is fun, by the way. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit. We're talking about humor. And again, I think that's a very big part of aging gracefully. Um, and we take life so seriously sometimes, and we take ourselves so seriously sometimes. It's time for us to age out loud, and not, and one way is to laugh out loud too. How do you age out loud? I think we age out loud by in nice ways raising questions when people say or share comments. I want to be careful of belittling older adults like, well, golly, he's too old. He'll never be able to do that. I need to realize that I can't do everything I'd like to do or could have done before, but I know that the Lord still has given me so much to do, and that we'll never run out of things to do. It's fun to laugh. And I think that's part of aging, to be able to laugh at yourself. Don't you think? It's a wonderful thing to be able to laugh. And I was looking here too in a book that I had here, in Psalm 71, verse 18. Just think about this for a minute. It says, so even to old age and gray hairs, O God, do not forsake me until I proclaim your might to another generation, your power to all those to come. Remember what we talked about there in terms of the Lord always remembering us, and He's never forgotten us and never will forget us. And sharing the gospel, we've got opportunities with kids and grandkids, to write and to talk and to really change a mindset of a negative to a positive, because the Lord is still with us all the time. Um, we need to, each of us, force that. We need to encourage vibrant, grace-filled living across all generations. So we're just not talking about older people, but there's a lot of younger people around that need to get a little sense of humor too. So it's just not older people losing their sense of humor. It's a matter of better understanding that the Lord is always with us. Here's a little another thought that might trigger a few other thoughts for you here. This is a little book that we wrote years ago, Living Well. It's out of Wheatridge, and it says this: sharing the gospel is not our job, it's our joy. It's our joy. And it's not just because we're old that we say this, but Luther says, if we preach the gospel but fail to address the issues of the day, we have failed to preach the gospel. And we all can say this. This is most certainly true. How is the Lord enabling you and me to share our joy in the gospel today? Look around you to see how the Lord is sharing that joy and in and through you. Yes, the Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. I have to confess, a lot of times I forget about that. And I'm not filled with joy. I'm filled with agony. I'm filled with worry. I'm filled with things that the devil puts in my way. You, and I don't even know who you are out there, you become so crucial in your family, whatever that is, in your church, even in your neighborhood, in terms of how you are portraying what it is to grow older. And so often, again, it's always the negative. We've grown up that way. I've learned to laugh it off in a way, but also that we be bold and we claim old. Instead of dreading aging, let's dream about aging, because there's more that I learn every day from young people, just listening to them and just better understanding what they're saying. I may not agree with them, but I can sure better understand what they're doing and what they're saying. So let's disrupt the aging concept. I have to tell you the story. There's a church that I know of that has a older adult group, which is fine. I like older adult groups, and they call it the Joy Group, Joy, and that's fine too. I like that. But then I heard of this church on the West Coast that they meant joy as just older youth. Joy, we're just older youth. Well, I don't want to get too picky in my old age, but to me, that's not the right message. I am not just an older youth. I am an older person of God. And maybe some of you are picky, 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 but we are always, I think, or many of us always are looking back. Remember the good old days? Boy, I can remember a lot of bad old days back there, can't you? And I can remember a lot of good new days right now as I'm living it as 80 and 2/3 old. Remember that. So Joy Group would rather be just older youth. No, we're not just older youth. We're just older people of God. Now, again, you might be saying, picky, picky, these old people really do get picky, huh? No, the point is, I think we need to be intentional and let people open the doors for us, fine, but not to take advantage of it. I'm not sure. I should say, senior discounts. Again, I'm really going off here. Senior discounts. I think that's a wrong concept. I've got more money now than many of my grandchildren, and they're not getting all of my money anyway. But anyway, just for that, why do I get a senior discount if they don't? So the whole idea is conceptual. Well, these are older people, therefore we got to do this for them. I think our culture is learning and learning quickly that it's not the poor old people, but it's old people that need help, that we can support them, but do it in ways that support everyone else instead of just supporting the older people. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does make sense to me. The little article, little item I put together that Carol will have on online that you can look at tries to say a little bit more about some of these things. How the church can be more intentional. We have pastors, great, and they do well with people of all ages. I used to serve as a youth minister for 100 years, I guess it was, and that's great. I think it was a great ministry to kids. We need that. But how many of our congregations are really focusing on us older people? How many directors of older adult ministry people do we have? Not saying that we are special, but saying that all of God's people are special. And how is your church helping the young and the old come together as the church, not the this is for the youth and this is for the adults? It's tough. I know it's easy to raise them, but let's keep pushing and the eternal person that raises the issues. How many of your churches are doing things jointly with youth and adults, but also separately so that we can understand that people learn differently and have different ways to learn, and that's fine. And so we continue to really maybe push the issue of saying, okay, we are older, and what are we going to do about it? Old in the way and here to stay. I like that. This is a country where it's wonderful to be young. It must become a country where it's wonderful to be old. Now, Ethel Perry Andrus, founder of AARP, said that years ago. I like to add, even sometimes I wonder if this is a country where it's even wonderful to be young sometimes with all the stuff going on. But her point is well taken. This country, this world needs to be a place where it's wonderful to be old. I have an issue with old age homes, so to speak. One of my grandkids said, yeah, somebody said nursing homes are what, God's holding grounds before people go to heaven. And I get the idea, but again, I don't get the idea. I think it's about time that we bring older and younger people back together again. I think it was wonderful, even though we couldn't get along and she drove me nuts sometimes, that I had the privilege, the blessing of growing up with an older person. I didn't understand them. I didn't take enough time. I feel bad about that. But at least I learned that generations need each other. If you're a grandparent, spend time with kids. If you're not a grandparent, look for older people to call and write, and we can see how the Lord works in and through us in that way. Carol, another question or comment?
Yes, we have a comment from, or question from LaDonna.
Hi, Lenana.
Yes, I just wanted to share that at our church, the 5th and 6th grade midweek, their teacher set up a program called Bible Buddies. And each one of them was given a name of an older person in the congregation. And they exchanged notes of encouragement, notes to tell about themselves, little gifts, little surprises, and it was all anonymous. And then at the end of the year, they had a little party together.
Oh, wow.
And they got to know each other very well. And I think it was really good for the young people and the older people to have that relationship.
Well, that's a great model, LaDonna. Thank you so much. That's wonderful, and there's work there, but it's so easy to do, isn't it? It really is. That reminds me too. I'm glad you mentioned that during this pandemic and all the stuff we're going through too. I don't know about you, but we found a lot of older people had trouble finding an appointment to get their shots. And I heard about a couple churches that really went after that and had people assigned to older people to actually help them not only get their shots, get an appointment, get them there and get them back. And again, you might say, as you said, that's no big deal, but it is a big deal. That's wonderful, LaDonna, what you said that. We're not talking about doing great big things that cost thousands of dollars. We're talking about relationships that so often I miss. I've tried to make phone calls like my friend Dick does, but I have to confess I sure could do a lot more of those, and I want to do more of them. And if they don't want to talk to me, they'll hang up. That's okay. Most of them do. But just to talk to somebody or just somebody know in terms of and thanking them for people, how important that is. I always remember Psalm 126, verse 3. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. And that's what a statement of life. The Lord's done everything there is to do, and we're filled with joy. And what do we do about it? You people are just talking about it too. We can do it in just such small ways. We don't have to get written up in the paper. We don't have to do that. That's why I like to say, aha, older adult ministry is being aha, an aha person. You try to say that. Try to be an aha person, ambassador of health, hope, and aging. We all are aha people. We're ambassadors of health, hope, and aging because we aging people can really and are being examples where my grandparents maybe weren't the best example. They didn't know any better. But from that, I hope I've been a better grandpa and others have been a better grandpa and grandma.
Lois also had a comment. She said,
Oh,
senior Christians need to use what is still with us. Perhaps not our strength, our hearing, our vision, speaking, or being active in a previous job. We need to use our memories, our insight, our experience, and our faith.
wow.
And
Hey,
all those are things that you still have as you're aging. So thank you, Lois.
that's wonderful, Lois. Really, that's powerful. Yeah, you use the gifts you have. A lot of people are telling me that one of the many gifts I don't have is hearing, and I don't understand them because I don't hear it when they say it. But I need to be aware enough that I can let other people help me too. Let's just think and kind of closing here too. Just a few quick things to summarize. Number one, I think I say that these are 10 wow ways to celebrate God's gift of aging. Number one, to affirm that aging is the only way to live. You have to think about that a little bit, but that's true. That's true. Number two, continue to grow old gracefully and continue to grow bold gracefully. Don't feel negative. Don't feel, oh, I wish I could do that when I can't, but be bold as we grow old, gracefully. Number three, enjoy laughing at yourself and smile and laugh with others. That's one of the best things. I like to laugh, and I have a lot of things to laugh at because I do a lot of silly things. Somebody once said, we don't stop laughing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop laughing. Now, that doesn't mean just going around guffawing, but yeah, laugh at yourself. Get up in the morning if you can. Get up in the morning and look in the mirror and just laugh. That's a good way to start the day. Lord, look at there I am, and you still love me. And what are we going to do today together? So boldly look at yourself and laugh because the Lord is the Lord of laughs. Laugh then wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the laugh, said he. Number three, yeah, enjoy. Did I say that already? Yeah, enjoy laughing at yourself and smile and laugh with others. Don't have to argue with them, just smile or whatever you want to do with them. Number four, spend time with younger and older. I like to call people the younger and the older. Spend time with them. If you don't have kids or if they're all gone or grandkids, whatever, there are kids around. That's why I think retirement homes too, and there's a movement now to get more family style where we have adults, single adults, kids, families living together again, supporting and helping each other as we did when we were growing up. But spend time with the younger. Be intentional about saying hi. The one person I remember when I was a little kid in church was Bill Gust. Anybody remember him? Bill Gust was the only adult who would say hi to me when I would walk into our church in Broadview, Illinois, when I was just a little kid. Here's this guy, he's the usher, and he says hi to me, and he even knew my name. How important that is, that we as adults, what a simple thing to do. Just spend time with the younger and older and say hi, or do something with them just to be there. Number 5, tell others how much you love them. Boy, we get into, I'm good at finding people doing things wrong. I'm working at trying to do better at finding people doing things right and saying good job and working on the wrong stuff and not making it an issue. Tell others how much you love them. I know we do that, but maybe we need to do that more. Never think that you can say that enough. Love, tell others how much you love them. And encouragement. If there's one thing older people can do better, maybe than anybody, is to encourage. And you notice how you spell encourage at the end, AGE. The Lord's got a message there somewhere. Encourage, encourage, encourage. What a joy to be able to do that with the people of all ages around us. Catch people doing something right. I'm good at catching people doing things wrong. Aha. No, let's work at catching people doing things right and then telling them, good job, well to do it. And I know you're doing this, but for me at least, it's good to remind each other. Serve the lonely, the least, and the lost. That's a biggie now these days, isn't it? Our family is a family, however family units go, but really the whole church is a family and the whole world is a family. And this is Earth Day. That means the Lord really wants us to help and serve and proclaim who he is to all people, starting with those around us. Number 9, keep telling the story of Jesus and his love. Tell it in your prayers, tell it in your conversation, tell it with people that might even be wondering, where did that come from? But just tell it because we've got something to tell. And then finally, be ready to live well, age well, and die well in the Lord. My dad died when he was 50. My mom was 80 something. And this is a closing story I have. So there we were in the funeral home. And as a kid, I was 17, I guess. I don't know. And for my mom, and there she was in the casket, and I was looking at her, and a friend came up, and he looked at my mom in the casket, and he said, "You know, your mom died well." And I said, "Excuse me?" There she is. What do you mean? She died well. And I still remember this. His name was Bill. And he simply said, your mom died well in the Lord. She didn't do everything well. She didn't say everything well, but she died well in the Lord. What a comment to make, huh? What a joyful experience. And I lost track of that, Bill, but I always will remember that my mom lived well and she died well, and she's celebrating that now. I want to commend you for spending the time just to listen and share great ideas, and wonderful to think about all of these things. What Aloha is doing is wonderful, I think, getting the word out. And boy, from my point of view, Aloha and other aging ministries, keep celebrating them, keep involved, keep pushing. Be the divine irritant. Be the divine irritant. Say things about, hey, we want older adults to do that, and maybe push people a little bit. It's fun being a divine irritant, as long as you can smile and as long as you know who you are in Jesus' name. So keep it up. Thanks for this ministry opportunity. And if you don't know about Aloha and tell other people about it, it's a great ministry. And let's get other Aloas going too. As we again say, the Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. God's peace to all of you. Thanks.